Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How about you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good too. Okay, Dr. Saleem, there is a really pressing matter that is very concerning our modern generation, and I wanted to discuss with you. It is regarding the LGBTQ issue. So, first of all, we were not knowing so much about this, or it was this whole revolution, you can say, it was to a limited place. But due to social media exposure, it is getting too much common day by day. So it is not just affecting the teenagers, but also little children who are school going in primary schools. So my first query is this, that in our age, we tend to make the boys and the girls separate. And even throughout the schools and the college sometimes, because we are being told that you have to stay away from here. There could develop a relationship here, something wrong could happen here. But now when the girls are being told and the boys are being told that you could have a relation, you can have something unlikely with one another. So they have not developed the hormones, but they can be built up mentally that, wait, can it be possible? It's something like this So don't you think it can ignite in them something which should not be?
Yes, absolutely right. This is something that can always happen, but actually it is the approach through which you solve the whole issue and the way that you look at the whole issue. I think that if we look at this issue at the global level, disregarding what we are facing here, maybe in the third world countries, I think that there are two extremes at the moment which we are facing. And there is one extreme which is shown by the Muslim or the religious camp. I can categorize as the Muslim camp or the religious camp. And the other extreme is shown by the Western camp, or whatever you can call it. And I think both need to come to a middle ground to understand that, you see, as far as any issue is concerned, besides the LGBTQ issue, there can always be differences of opinion amongst mankind. We have to start off with the fact that all of us are human beings. And because of the fact that we belong to the same fraternity, I think the congeniality that should exist between human beings must never be let go of, and which unfortunately seems to be the case in this issue. So if you look at the Muslim camp or the religious camp, I would say the extreme nature of this issue, the way they are tackling it, is that they think that people who get involved in such gender issues, whether at a younger age, whether in the middle age, or people who organize these things, especially people who are affected by these gender issues in the sense that they say that they have same gender attraction. The thing that most Muslim men and women, parents especially, advise is that you stay away, or not just stay away, in fact, there is a sense of superiority, and you think that these people are worthless and they are dirty people, they are filthy people, and you should not even go near them. Isolate yourselves from them. I think this is something that has to be corrected in the Muslim camp, that they have to respect every single human being because he or she is a human being, regardless of any gender orientation. I mean, that is something that you will deal in the next step. But the first thing is that whatever the nature of the issue, you just cannot hate a human being for what he or she has done. Yes, I mean, you can differ with the person, you can have your own opinion, but hating someone is not going to solve the issue. So this is something that has to be set right in the Muslim camp.
Yes, I fully agree with you on this. And what I have seen in the Muslim camp, if any child comes to their parent and finally gather this courage to tell that I feel I'm into girls, I feel I'm into boys, they will treat them that it is impossible. How can you feel this? This is abnormal. You are deceiving yourself. And they're facing the same hatred which you have mentioned, and this worthless and this filthiness, that they are not now sorting their problem. They kind of either get into denial or they start concealing this thing, which in one way or the other, it keeps kindling and harnessing this feeling.
Correct. So I think that has to be set right, and I think we can think of many suggestions that can go a long way in setting right this unbalance, I would say. On the Western side, or the other camp, is the fact that any difference of opinion in this affair is deemed as is absolutely unforgivable. You just cannot say anything against this gender orientation. I think it is here that they need to correct themselves, that being the champions of liberty, being the champions of freedom of opinion, they should know that everyone has a right to his or her own opinion, and there's no one better than them, because they are the ones who have actually in these modern times have upheld the fact that everyone has a right to his or her own opinion. So if there is a difference of opinion regarding this gender orientation and that hate element is done away with, I think they should realize that if they think that there's something is right about it, then there can always be people who don't agree with them. So it should be a point of agreement and disagreement instead of being a point of hate, or instead of being a point in which you are not even allowed to discuss something, and if you open your mouth, you'll be labeled as a fanatic. So I think the Western camp needs to understand that other people can have a difference of opinion from them, and the religious or the Muslim camp needs to understand that hating this whole issue or expressing your intense disregard or your own fury is not going to solve the problem. So that is how I think that, I mean, these two extremes need to be corrected. Now, having said that, I think the way forward would be that, I mean, as individuals, as followers of various religions, the story of humanity, the way it started, the way it has been described in scriptures like Abrahamic scriptures, the foremost, we know that the way God started humanity was that He created a pair of Adam and Eve, or a pair of a man and a woman. He did not create two men, He did not create two women. So I think the way that we should teach our children and the young boys and girls is that let us look at the scheme of God. And the scheme of God is that He wants men and women who have different traits to come together, to form a family, to give companionship to one another, and to be good parents to the child who is born to them. And this can only happen if a child has both a mother and a father. Because you see, what a mother can give to the child, a father cannot, and vice versa. So two mothers or two fathers, they are not sufficient to groom a child. So the scheme of God is the scheme that we have to look into. And if there are people who have a different scheme or who think that they can go adversely, I think we should let them do what they want to. But we would like to express that we would like to follow the scheme of God. And that is something which is apparent in most scriptures, not only just the Abrahamic scriptures, but if you see other scriptures as well, you'll see that this is something that has always, something of an undertone that's found in all scriptures. And also, I would like to express this, that same gender attraction or the fact that you have different genders is not something new. It's, as you rightly said, it's being overblown. It has been overblown by the media, by the social media. And I don't think that there are more than 1 or 2% of people in the world population, maybe slightly more, who have this orientation. It's just a question in which they should be given the right to do what they want to, which is under discussion. So the Muslim camp would not allow the right to be given to them, not only to them, but if they themselves are subjected to it. And the Western camp, or whatever you can call the opposing camp, would say that, well, this is a right that they have, and not only the right that they have, but no one should speak against that right. So the right, I stand for the fact that yes, people who belong to any community, regardless of being an LGBTQ community, I mean, a person could be a kleptomaniac, he could be a serial thief, he could be a serial anything. But regardless of that, as a human being, I would grant him the same right as someone who has a different gender orientation or a different opinion. So as human beings, those human rights have to be respected and given to each individual. If that is granted, I think, then the only thing that is left is to bridge this gap, this huge gap of communication, in which, on the one hand, that hate element has to be disregarded, and on the other hand, any difference of opinion in this matter must be faced and encountered with magnanimity, and not with any bigotry or any sort of prejudice.
Yeah, I really agree with you. You said really well. And one thing that I couldn't help but notice that in both sides, the Muslim camp or the religious camp is saying that do not give hate to our opinions, and the Western camp is saying the same thing, that do not give hate, do not oppose in a very loathful way to our opinions. And both of them are doing exactly the same thing that they do not want from themselves. Now, if this problem is solved, there is another issue. As you said that tell them about the beginning of time, that Allah selected the pair of man and a woman and everything. But here they have started a different narrative. If you see on social media, you'll find different, for example, a lesbian couple, and they will tell you that men are not so much emotional. They do not get a woman's psyche the way another woman does. And then they will give you all the reasons, all the psychological reasons, and sometimes there will be even a psychologist sitting and talking that why not a man and why a woman can understand you better. And in such a beautiful way, they will prescribe it. So now if a girl comes and says that, Mom, a man and we have different psychologies, and I believe a woman understands me better and she can make me more happy. What should the parent or what should be the guardian or the elder brother or sister do at that time?
I think no different as the one I just suggested. So you see, we have to first of all understand that when as parents, our children, they reach a mature age. They reach an age in which they start asking such questions, especially, and then they reach that mature age. We should now consider them as adults and discuss with them, debate with them, suggest to them, give our own opinion. But at the end of the day, we should accept what our children or our young adults, I would call them, grown-up children, whatever they conclude should be the thing that they should follow. We as parents should have that suggestive role, the role in which we can advise them, we can share our experience, we can argue with them, not in a bad way, but in a positive way, by citing human experience, by citing prophetic stories, by citing the scheme of God, and tell them how the scheme of God has functioned and how over so many thousands of years this unit of family has prospered and how it has actually come to our aid and how it is the building block of a society. And if that family is strong, the society is strong. So I think this is the reason, and the methodology of that reasoning is the one that we should employ as our tool. And that is all. I mean, if our children are bent upon adopting some other point of view, I would also like to say this, that at times people want to taste something and they are hell-bent, I mean, especially the young boys and girls. So I think one way is to let them do what they would like to. Let them taste that. And at times, and on most occasions, I have seen that if you allow them to do what they would want to, they become more cautious. They realize if there is a mistake, they would realize it more in a way that they will acknowledge it, yes, I'm doing wrong, because now you've not challenged their ego. Because now they are going to make a decision out of an experience that they have gone through. So I think this is another thing that parents have to be told maybe, or they must understand, to learn to let go of their children. If they let go of their children, let them make mistakes, let them take major decisions. After all, this is not the end of the world. You can always reverse a decision. Yes, sometimes decisions become very tough because if you engage in something, you cannot reverse it easily. But then this is what life is all about. I mean, it's like a learning experience. So that learning experience should continue.
Right. But the problem here, especially in our third world communities, is that literacy rate is low. Even religious literacy, if I say. People do not tend to read the scriptures themselves. They just listen to what the Islamic people say instead of what Islam says itself. So now what happens is they don't know the knowledge, they do not know how to convey something. So now, for example, in one grade, grade 2, a child comes and says, Mom, I think I like girls. What is going to happen? She doesn't know about Allah. She is going to tell some story which is not so much logical, and today's generation knows a lot more. And then it will get into a fierce fight. So at that time, if I say that for parents who are not so literate in religion, what can they do?
Again, I think before even becoming parents, they have to realize that parenting is a skill. We've talked about this earlier on as well. So it's not just about the LGBTQ issue. It's about so many other things that if parents, they start a family without being prepared. And when I say without being prepared, it actually means that you are not fully equipped to deal with these issues. Then, I mean, how else except that there could be a huge confusion, there could be a huge mess that they would create. So I think the bottom line is that before you enter into parentage, before you become parents, there are some basic skills of parenting that you need. And amongst those skills, of course, is how to deal with issues like this. And of course, as I said, that if you start dealing with your children in a way that you know the school that he or she is going into, the way your children need your time. See, another thing is your parents don't have time for their children. So they leave their children to a lot of exposure, unwanted exposure. Instead of making them involved in constructive activities, they have a whole lot of time to waste and to, do all sorts of things. They can climb, go to any place. So I think the only answer that I can think of is that parenting technique and element is missing all over the world. People have become busy, or they become indifferent. They don't even think that this is something to be learned. They think that's just a thing that they'll just learn on-job training sort of a thing. And these are, if you train yourselves on job, then you're going to make a mess out of your first child, or maybe the second child, and maybe then on the third child, if you ever have it, then you might be equipped. So I think the answer is that you have to be a skilled parent.
Now, if, for example, there is a person, let's say there is a girl and she's in her teens, she's in her early teens, her parents are not so concerned about it, and she has a lot of trauma, domestic trauma. We usually see that, as you mentioned previously, that girls do not want to marry because they see the way how their fathers treat their mothers, their brother treat in house, and so on. So now she's sort of a very anti-male person. And now she's seeing all these videos on TikTok and everywhere of lesbians that I was tortured by my husband, but now look, I'm with my wife, she takes care of my emotional health and everything. So now if we go and tell her that Allah says this thing and the first human was this, do you really think that religion is sufficient to convince such a person?
I think it's not just religion, it's the collective history of mankind. When I spoke of religion, the reason I spoke of it was because the first or the initial human beings, that is an episode which religious books cover, because the advent of man on earth is something which is not covered by other history books because they don't have access to that. Otherwise, it's not just religious books, it's basically experience sharing. It's like telling them what the world has gone through, what exactly a family is about. If they've seen an abusive relationship, a husband being abusive to the wife, so that as an exception, and exceptions don't make the rule. So I think on a wider scale, what a family is, what are the ingredients of a family, where we need to withdraw ourselves, where we need to be more assertive. So all these things have to be understood. And in spite of that, if someone chooses for various reasons, it could not just be, I don't think that's, at times it is only just this relationship or of abuse that might be a cause of it. At times, thrill and pleasure, all these things also make up their own part. So I think that if they are serious, then they have a world of opportunity to study what's going on in our world. And if there are other things at play, there are other motives, then instead of just brushing them under the carpet or just hushing them up, the best thing is to have an open discussion. And in that discussion, if the case for the family is a strong one, which I believe is a strong one, and if we are able to put it across, I think that it should at least be entertained as a viewpoint. I'm not saying that you convince people or forcibly convince them. What you do is you present strong arguments in favor of a family system, and then let them work. They might not work. There's no guarantee. If they don't work, then I'm afraid the only way out is to let that person have that experiment going on and see if that experiment, how it goes on in that person's life. And maybe that experiment is enough in itself to teach that person.
And what if, for example, that person says, like, there's a mother and her son says that, Mom, I have decided this is my boyfriend and we want to get married. Now, if you come in the place of the parent, I cannot even imagine that what a parent would go through in that moment, that what she's not just thinking about the world, what the society will say, she's also thinking about the hereafter, and there are so many things going on in their mind. So being a parent, what do you suggest that mother, that should she go against it? Should she say that now I'm not your mother anymore, you're not my son?
No, I think that's what I made my point earlier on also, that as parents, once our children reach that mature age, we should be suggestive in our undertakings. We should share our experience. We should tell them that they are doing something which they might regret. But if they are bent upon doing such things, or they are, they would not relent, I think then we should let them do what they want to. Yes, it's a very difficult thing to bear, because something going on right before you, and that too by your children is intolerable. But it is here that we have to realize that this is a question of having that independent opinion that everyone has a right to have. My child, who is a grown-up, has as much a right to an independent opinion as I have it. So if he or she has a different right, I should just back away.
So if that child, they invite their parents, that grown-up person, that, hey mom, would you come into the wedding of me and my husband, or me and my wife? Should that parent?
I will go. I will suggest that yes, they should go. I mean, they can present their own difference of opinion, but they should not withdraw their support. They should not withdraw their blessings. This is more a question of strategy, I would think. Maybe someone would disagree and they would not go. But the thing is that in the larger part, once this happens, you should not withdraw yourselves as the parents. Maybe, I mean, you should still go to their house. You should still call them to your own house for any lunch or something. Disowning your children, I don't think should be an option.
Because the parents, they're just afraid. As I was having a discussion with someone, and they said that even if we go to our child's wedding, what will we say to Allah? Allah will say that you're also the part of them.
No, you see, we have to understand that what happens with the children is something that's their responsibility. They are answerable for what they are doing. As a parent, once the children become adults, I mean, they are not answerable. The parents are not answerable. The parents, in fact, are answerable if they withdraw their support, if they act otherwise. And they are not being part of the whole situation. They have made it clear that they don't agree. The only thing is that in spite of my disagreement, I'm still your father, I'm still your mother.
And that is something that every human being needs. Thank you so much for today, Dr. Saleem.
My pleasure.